it's going down. It's going through.
Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Millennial Smark, and I'm bringing you the slop, the whole slop, and nothing but the slop. You know, it's weird seeing everybody so somber. You know, like John Cena, this is his retirement. You know, this is his last day as an active competitive wrestler. I think for me, it's only weird from the standpoint that Cena's like the first guy to have a proper send-off and retire. And like, he's the first guy that I ever seen debut on the main roster and then just like have an active retirement. Not like, you know, ending it suddenly and whatnot. Like, no. Having an actual debut at the peak of my wrestling fandom. I was already watching wrestling for like maybe about 6-7 years at that point, and watching it religiously for about 3, maybe 2 years at that point in time, 2.5 years, give or take. It's just weird, you know, watching the guy on your television and just seeing him as nothing but a jobber. You know, I still remember the day when my mom, I think I told the story before when Cena debuted, but when my mom went out with my aunt, they got some Wendy's, brought it back. My cousins, me, we're all fucking it up. My little brother, my sister, we're all just fucking it up. And they head into the living room to go watch my cousin, my older cousin, play Grand Theft Auto 3. And he was like towards the tail end of the video game, like he was on the verge of beating it. And all my cousins and my little brother, they were just like watching him play, and they were just kind of like, oh my god, he's actually going to beat Grand Theft Auto 3. Vice City didn't come out yet, I don't think so. Because we actually got Vice City on the day it came out. And now that was like a little bit, like maybe a couple of months later. But nevertheless, though, I was the only little nerd sitting inside my room and watching, you know, Cena debut, because I just had like this ADHD or like this fucking disorder where I just couldn't miss wrestling, no matter how, you know, how shitty it was, no matter if it didn't have any news circulating coming out of it. It didn't matter. I just had to watch wrestling. It didn't matter, right? And I remember eating Wendy's, eating some chili, and dipping my crackers inside it, and watching Kurt Angle, because I wanted to see the fallout from the King of the Ring also. Kurt Angle called out John Cena, and Cena came out, and I'm like, in the back of my mind, even at 10 years old, I was thinking to myself, like, damn, bro, it's crazy to know that we go from, you know, all the greats, Austin, all that shit, because this is around the time when Austin walked out also, not too long beforehand. I'm thinking to myself, damn, bro, we go from Austin and Rock to this fucking loser right here looking like a default CAW. And then he comes out, he's like, oh, ruthless, aggression. I didn't give a fuck about John Cena at the time. I thought he was just another Hemmenegger. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I thought about him no different than how I looked at, you know, velocity wrestlers at that point in time, right? Sunday Night Heat Hemmeneggers. And to just see the progress of John Cena towards the end of 2002, and I didn't even give a fuck about him then. He also, even when he turned heel on Billy Kidman and all that shit during the SmackDown 6 era, and then, like, you know, he got with Bo Buchanan, and, you know, he started dressing like LL Cool J and shit. I thought he was corny as fuck. I mean, I ain't even gonna lie to you. I thought Cena was corny as fuck. And then he had that feud with Brock Lesnar, building up into Backlash 2003. And then he started to come out and he started to dress more, you know, like with the trends, you know, G-Unit was all popping at that point in time. And like, you know, he had the throwbacks and, you know, the snapbacks and everything like that. And I thought Cena was the coolest motherfucker in the world. And he's cutting promos and he's freestyles. I used to always look forward to John Cena's promos because I knew he was going to drop a freestyle that was going to be killer. I used to fucking love Cena promos. And it's just crazy to see how, like the change in John Cena from, like, who the fuck is this goddamn SmackDown 2 bad graphics looking CAW generic default motherfucker to, like, he's one of my favorite wrestlers in the world today. Like, a year later, it's crazy. And as time started to progress, I got really, really behind Cena. You know, it's crazy. That whole Jesus storyline with, you know, Carlito and his bodyguard stabbing John Cena in the club and all that shit. That's why actually got me behind Cena even more as a sympathetic babyface. And then he, you know, debuted the Spinner USA Championship, which I thought was so fucking cool. Like, look at this motherfucker. He got like a G-Unit fucking chain on his damn belt. Then he did it again with the WWE Championship when he beat JBL, which also took me by surprise because I didn't think he had it in him to beat Kurt Angle. You know, kayfabe me, right? And it's just like, man, all these memories, nearly 25 years of memories with John Cena, and to just see it all just conclude. He's probably the first wrestler, for sure, like big time wrestler. I mean, it was Edge at first, but like, you know, even with Edge, you know, he started in 98 with WWE. I didn't watch his career like that. I was like kind of dipping my toes in and out of, you know, wrestling at that point in time. It was more of a trend. But to see Cena at the very, very bottom as a jobber when he first started, to see him become one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, it's a cool thing. It's a cool little journey, man. You know, to be 10 years old, actually 9, turning 10 like a month later or a couple of weeks later. I was 9 when Cena debuted, and to like be 33, you know, looking at 34 through the barrel of a shotgun. You know, it's just one of those things, man. It is. I don't think of it as like sad. I don't even think about it as more of a celebration, or I just think it's cool. Like, speaking from my perspective, I think it's cool to see a wrestler, you know, at the very bottom, and then watch his career get to the point where he's considered one of the GOATs, and to just be so lackadaisical in my approach when I seen Cena for the first time, to now here we are. You know, like seeing Austin and Rock and Jericho on WWE magazines, and seeing that little picture of John Cena giving an interview on who he really is in 2002, and like skipping the page because who the fuck cares, to like who he is now, man. It's one of the craziest journeys I can ever say in regards to engaging with a professional wrestler. So, you know, good on John Cena. Kudos to him for having a great career. You know, it is what it is, man. But we still got one more match to get to in regards to John Cena. So just soak it in as much as possible, and let's get into the show. I don't look at it as much as Saturday night's main event as much as it's the John Cena show for one last time. So with that being said, let's get into the show. Now let me first start this off by saying I get the idea, and I get the whole reasoning behind the match. Obviously, the point of Oba versus Cody, especially on the night where John Cena is retiring, which I can only assume is going to do big numbers, is to get Oba in front of a more wider audience, right? This is probably going to be the biggest viewership number all year, right? Probably next to the Netflix premiere earlier in January this year. I get it, right? That's going to be the same idea for Sol Ruca. You know, Javon Evans already, you know, performed a couple times on, you know, the main roster. And I'm pretty sure Leon Slater is a guy that WWE absolutely has their eye on. I get it. I understand the whole premise as to what's going on. I get the agenda. I get the plan. And quite frankly, I agree with it, right? But that still doesn't make up for the fact that you have to do. See, that's the problem that I don't understand most fans have nowadays. Is that when you have these arguments with some of the fans, especially in my own comment section, right? And they'll make excuses for WWE, and they suggest like, well, the reason behind the reason behind why this match sucked, or the reason why this was terrible, is because blah 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 blah, and you're a terrible person for saying that this match sucks because of blah 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 blah. Like, I don't care why the match sucked, because the match still sucked. I get the reason. I know why they planned it that way. I know why they booked it that way. But it doesn't take away from the fact that the match sucked. And knowing the capabilities of a performer like a Cody Rhodes, and quite frankly, even an Oba Femi, if you watch him in NXT, it is disappointing when you go in this direction. Again, you can have two separate arguments while still focusing on the same goal. I don't understand why Oba and Cody couldn't have gone out there and killed it. You have 4 matches this year. 4 matches. And presumably, because I heard rumors that this might go over 2 hours, right? They said that, I think they said for this show right here, that WWE has a little bit more leeway, and it's not going to stop directly at 10 o'clock. We'll see if that's going to come to fruition. But from my understanding, you have till at least 10 o'clock, and you might even go over. You have 4 matches in 2 hours. And you mean to tell me you couldn't give Oba Femi and Cody Rhodes some time to tell a story in there? You mean to tell me the bits and pieces that we got of Cody and Oba. I'm not even saying necessarily that I'm against the disqualification finish, right? You don't want to beat Oba because he's the leading figure in your NXT brand, and you don't want to beat Cody because obviously he's the WWE champion, right? Even though you could make an argument, a solid argument about either one of them going over, I get it. If that's the direction you want to go into, the disqualification finish, I'm cool with that. But is there any excuse as to why the match had to go like 10 minutes, if that? Is there any excuse? We were just hitting the surface level as to what we could have gotten out of this match. Because I gotta think that in the future, Oba Femi is going to be a star in WWE. The fact that they even knew the dun dun woo dun dun woo, it already tells me that the audience is at the very least familiar with his game. He looks like a star. He comes out looking like $1 million, but it's one thing to introduce him to the audience of people who might not be aware of him. That's fine. And you did a great job with the presentation, but you need to layer on. See, I'm not an in-ring guy, but at the same time, like I always said, in-ring stuff is not the most important, but it's still important. And you still need to showcase him. Okay, it's like the complete opposite of AEW, where you have AEW where they're all sizzle and no steak. You have WWE where they're all steak and no sizzle nowadays. Why couldn't Oba Femi go out there and put on a compelling match with Cody Rhodes, and then you can have the disqualification finish if you really, really, really need to go there? I don't understand it. People are gonna make excuses for this. You have them rocking and rolling. They were just starting. They didn't even hit a point where they started to peak, where you got some, some momentum building, some comebacks. You didn't even get to that point pretty much. You immediately went to straight, Oba dominating Cody for like 5 minutes, Cody getting a little bit of momentum, two Cody cutters, and then directly out Drew McIntyre comes on, he attacks Cody. What was the point of that? Like, please tell me, what am I missing here? What is the excuse as to why that had to go down in the manner as to how it went down? It didn't. It didn't have to go down that way. Even if you want to bring up the excuse, less is more. Don't give them everything with Cody and Oba. So when you actually come back to this match in a couple of years, maybe even a couple of months, you have stuff to actually show off with these two guys, right? Even if that's your excuse, and I hate that logic always. I really, really hate that logic. It's the whole, and I said this in the past also, it's the whole quintessential, taking an inch and making it a mile, right? Well, they make a mile and turn it into an inch. You can still showcase Oba and Cody to a degree where you don't go overboard, and you can save a bunch of stuff for that inevitable meetup in a couple of months or in a couple of years. You designed the match in that manner. You, Triple H, creative, agents, producers, you designed the matches. You plan out the spots. You can have Oba and Cody go out there and do just enough, and then when you get to that point in time, you give them everything. It's not as if both guys aren't athletic to pull off some stuff in this match. They give us something where we can feel satisfied, considering this is John Cena's last night, and you get people more invested into Oba, and you get people wanting to see him come back. Because quite frankly, I see Oba Femi, and what I think of from the average fan standpoint is he looks cool, he looks great, but damn, what can he do? It's like you met certain criterias, you met certain check boxes, but you didn't go all the way with what you could have done with Oba Femi. You barely scratched the surface, and there's no excuse for that. Obviously this match sucked, but that goes without saying. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. And you'll have cucks. You'll have WWE fanboys come out and they'll make excuses for this while telling you at the same time it sucked. You can't. It's illogical booking. It's absolutely illogical booking. Cody Rhodes gave him his endorsement. The deed is done. Presentation. The deed is done. He got over with the fans. The deed is done. All things true. But the match still sucked. The match still didn't accomplish anything as far as getting people invested into Oba, as far as relating with him as a professional wrestler. But sure, of course people are going to make excuses for it. Nevertheless, though, it was nice to see Oba Femi in front of a big audience. I mean, this fucking arena is crazy. I mean, so many people packed up the arenas. They had to shoot off the fireworks inside the ring when the intro started because there's so many people. You couldn't even do Cody's, extravagant fireworks and shit like that because it was too close to the people who were surrounding him. So good on them for being able to sell this. But again, it's all on John Cena's name. I expect nothing less. But man, what a missed opportunity to go to the furthest extent as to what you could have done with Femi. And instead, you backpedaled. I disagree with that booking. I absolutely disagree with that booking. But coming up next, we do got Sol Ruca. We do got Bayley. Hopefully they can deliver something of substance compared to what the fuck Oba and Cody did. What a shit show that was. So I've always been a big fan of Sol Ruca. If some of you guys actually, watch me when I was doing some of my NXT reviews, you'd hear that I like Sol Ruca a lot. I fuck with her matches. I fuck with how she carries herself. But I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to be hypocritical. And I'm not going to sit here and suggest that some of the moves that she does, and I will say this, because I'm trying to be a little bit more open-minded when it comes to stuff like this nowadays. I even told myself this a couple of days ago. I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of a child also, right? I can have my own separate opinion as far as how I perceive matches to be nowadays as an adult. And at the same time, I could put myself in the shoes of a child. Because, obviously, I used to be a child, right? And on one hand, I can suggest this type of wrestling nowadays, me watching it from this perspective, it's so goofy sometimes, the shit that they actually do. Like when Sol Ruca, and mind you, I've seen this spot before, on TNA and everything. I think I've seen Eli Skipper do it one time with the cartwheel on the ropes into the DDT. I've seen superstars do that in the past. But just overcomplicated spots like that, you know what I mean? That Sol Ruca is known for doing. It's like, on one hand, when you do these spots, they look fantastic, and I get the whole point is to entertain the crowd, right? Like that's the whole point as to why Sol Ruca does the spots that she does. It's all for pure entertainment. But just from a logical standpoint, right? It's like, why would you do that? Why would you do that, right? Like, you can do all the entertaining stuff and all the flips and kicks and all that shit, but just make it more logical. Make the approach make more sense. I think that's my outlook when it comes to it as an adult. But then, obviously, as a child, they don't give a fuck what I'm saying, right? Even people who are like in their early 20s who aren't really looking at wrestling like that, like, you don't give a fuck what Sol Ruca or what the Young Bucks or what Ricochet or any of those guys in AEW, you don't care about whether or not it makes logical sense, right? You're just sitting there trying to be entertained, right? And I can see it from that perspective also as well. I just feel like you can be entertaining and you can add a little bit of logic into the things that you're doing that constitute the entertainment as well, right? Those two things can conflate with each other. And I feel like you're a more well-rounded opponent as far as in-ring talent if you can do both of those things. If you can only be logical and at the risk of being boring, I don't know if you're really a complete performer as far as an in-ring talent. And vice versa, if you have to rely on the spots and there's just no logic, there's no cohesion with what you're doing, and then I can't see you as a complete talent as well, right? But that's just my nuanced approach when looking at the in-ring stuff more so nowadays compared to how I was even a month ago. Trying to take those things into consideration when approaching these things nowadays, right? But nevertheless, though, Sol Ruca actually went over. No surprise to anybody. I fully expected Sol Ruca to go over. If there was going to be any talent on this roster, with the NXT people who are handpicked to fight against the WWE superstars, I would expect Sol Ruca to be the, sole survivor, as far, no pun intended, to be the one to actually beat one of the WWE superstars, and especially because it's Bayley, who's essentially just a jobber to the stars at this point, right? She ended up hitting her with the Soul Snatcher, right? And mind you, throughout the match, I don't know if you guys were paying attention to this, right? But is it just me, or did it really feel like Bayley was having a hard time with this match more so than Sol? I didn't see Sol botch. I didn't see any mishaps on Sol Ruca's spots or on her side of the aisle. I seen everything in regards to Bayley. And that could probably just be, because Sol Ruca, the way she wrestles, and I'm pretty sure Bayley's, familiar with her work, but I don't know if she's familiar with any of the introspective stuff that Sol Ruca actually does. So there was a bit of miscommunication, some mistiming on Bayley's part throughout the match. But it did end up with a pretty nice looking soul snatcher. But this is the part that I don't like, because I get it. Bayley's selling, she got hit with the soul snatcher. She's rolling out of the ring and everything. And then Sol Ruca's pulling her dead body inside the ring. And then Bayley immediately hits her with a cradle. And then Sol reverses that cradle into her own cradle, and then she picks up the win. Now, the second cradle I can understand because Bayley's hurt. Bayley's tired. She's not as strong as she was before taking the soul snatcher. But the fact that you look dead and then you can just immediately recover into your own leverage pin out of someone's finisher, it's like the whole quintessential people who do like the superplex off the top rope and then they immediately reverse the suplex when someone's actually trying to continue the movement to another spot and to their own move. It's so dumb because you hurt that spot. You hurt the superplex. You hurt Sol Ruca's soul catcher. It just doesn't really make any sense to me. And like I said, maybe I'm just the only one who's taking the piss out of this as far as looking at it from that perspective, because overall I didn't think it was a bad match. It could have been better. I'd probably give it like a low C. If this was a star rating system, I'd probably go 2.5, maybe closer to 2 3/4. But it's still, in my opinion, looking at how this was formatted, especially with Bayley being the veteran in the ring, I don't know. This might end up being the best in-ring match of the night. Who knows? It might be the tag team match. I doubt it's going to be Cena and Gunther. Who knows? I might be surprised. But it just goes to show you that people and their focus as far as how they actually engage with matches nowadays, it's a direct correlation with how the wrestlers today perceive professional wrestling. It's like if you don't call this stuff out and you don't focus on this stuff, then the women, the men, they all feel like they can take chances and do this stuff because they're just going to sweep it under the rug because it's entertaining watching the guys go out there and flip and shit like that or do false finishes and stuff. I don't know. I just don't like that approach when it comes to my professional wrestling. But I guess I'm one man on one island by himself, right? But continuing on with the show, I didn't think it was a horrible match. Just a lot of faults, a lot of miscommunications and things that I just didn't think were necessary. Man, I try to ask myself sometimes, like, what the fuck am I doing with my life, bro? Holy shit, man. Don't get it twisted. I'm actually satisfied with my life. Don't get it twisted. But I just mean, like, from the perspective of, like, I'm, like, older than, like, 3 people in this match. I'm older. I knew I was older than Javon Evans and Leon Slater. They're both, like, what, 21 years old? But, like, bruh, I just learned that Dragon Lee is 30? Dragon Lee is 30 years old. I'm actually older than everybody in this match besides AJ Styles, and it just makes me look in the mirror sometimes and say to myself, Devontae, what's it like being a failure? No, I'm joking, not really. But man, oh man, this was fun. We needed a match like this, you know what I mean? See, this is my thing when it comes to professional wrestling nowadays. I kind of miss the pacing as to how tonight was. Because, like, and I keep bringing them up, but it's just the only appropriate comparison. You look at AEW, right? And with AEW, what you just seen in this tag team match with Leon and, Javon and AJ and Dragon, you see, this is the kind of match they have pretty much, I want to say 80% of their card, right? 80% of their card, and sometimes even their opener and their main event in the middle of the card is that exact same type of pacing. And after a while, it just gets stagnant. It gets repetitive. You say to yourself, like, damn, nothing really sticks out. Nothing really stands out. And I've always had a problem with that when it comes to professional wrestling nowadays, right? I like a little bit of mixing, right? With added value of storytelling, with understanding that the main event is going to be a huge payoff and climaxing the night and peaking, which is the same thing. That has always been my push for professional wrestling to be, because that's what I grew up on. That's what made professional wrestling popular. And I feel like if the younger fans could see it from that angle, then you would have a better understanding. And I feel like you'll even be bigger wrestling fans than what you are right now if you even can digest what the fuck you see nowadays, right? But nevertheless, though, focusing on this match, it was just fast paced. Nobody's slowing down. Everybody getting their shit in. You know, they started off the match with, you know, dueling super kicks and, you know, flying around the ring and shit like that. That Leon Slater guy, I haven't seen much of him, but man, I've seen his finisher before, but man, that is a beautiful finisher. That swanton into the 450 splash, that is such a beautiful, beautiful fucking finisher. But man, and I love Javon Evans. I fuck with Javon Evans, right? He has so many decades to improve his style and, you know, maybe, you know, focus on of having a, I don't want to say an identity necessarily because he has his own identity. I mean, honestly, you look at Javon Evans, you look at Leon Slater. I mean, they kind of give me like streamer vibes. Like, you know, like they kind of give me that, you know, like Kai Cenat kind of vibes a little kind of, but I get it. That's this generation. That's what they, you know, glue onto. You know, that's their pop culture. But man, I get the identity of the character, but man, the oversaturation of people doing everybody's moves, it just makes the value of that move when someone does it as a finisher, it just devalues it so hardcore. Like, I've seen Javon Evans do two people's signature and one signature that is a combination of a finisher that someone already does, right? He did the frog splash, a 5-star frog splash right in front of RVD, and it looked beautiful. But it completely devalues someone like a Dominic Mysterio, right? Because his frog splash, and quite frankly, even Montez Ford frog splash, it looks bad in comparison to Javon Evans. Not saying that it looks bad. God knows I'm not saying Montez Ford frog splash is bad. Not even close. I'm just saying the kid gets so much height. He has so much charisma. It just makes their frog splashes look terrible in comparison. But that's not even his finisher. Hell, that's not even his signature. That's just a transitional move. You know, and then he does like the OG cutter, which looks like a billion times better than Cody's Cody cutter, right? And it further devalues, on top of what Cody's already doing, Randy Orton's RKO. And it's like, I get the whole, you know, thing about stealing moves. I know AJ Styles kind of went on a rant about this like last week. I even posted on my community post, but it's like, it's okay to steal moves, but just make sure that the prioritization of the move that you're doing doesn't devalue the next person who's doing it as a finisher. You know what I mean? It's like so many wrestlers do that nowadays. But nevertheless, though, the selling from Javon Evans and Leon Slater was definitely on point. And obviously, the thing that people are probably going to nitpick about this match is going to be AJ Styles and going for the phenomenal forearm and him slipping off the ropes. I'm going to be honest with you. He could have actually slipped off the ropes, right? And credit where credit is due of Leon Slater to capitalize on it and make it look like it was just a part of the match. But I'll even go a little bit further. I think it was a part of the match. The slip looked so fucking deliberate. It's not as if like AJ Styles jumped on the ropes and as he's jumping he slipped. It's like he touched the top of the ropes and then he slipped. And you know, I might be wrong. People might even say that I'm coping right now at the moment. But I feel like what AJ did looked rather intentional. I could be wrong about that. It just looked rather intentional, right? Like, and I like stuff like that. Whether it is or whether it isn't, just how, you know, Leon capitalized on it. It speaks to the imperfections of professional wrestling, where it's like not all of these guys can complete their move and they will fuck up. And when they fuck up, that's no different than taking an offensive move from a wrestler and you capitalize on it. It just makes, people may call it a botch. People may laugh at it. I personally don't think it was a botch. I think it was a part of the match and it was just a unique way to give offense for Leon Slater without Leon Slater actually doing anything. I think it's actually a change of pace, but again, I might be coping with that. AJ Styles did end up getting the win. He ended up hitting Leon Slater with the Styles Clash. A rare Styles Clash victory, but to be fair, I haven't really been keeping up with a lot of Raw lately, so maybe he's been doing that as a finisher as of late. I don't know. Probably should stick to doing that if that really was a botch, honestly. You're almost 50 years old, still doing high-flying moves. You ain't no Rey Mysterio! But I liked the match. I thought it was a solid match. Quite frankly, I mean, easily the best in-ring match of the entire night. That's not even fucking close. I just wish there were just certain things that were done in the match that wasn't per status quo of what we see in professional wrestling on a consistent basis nowadays. But I guess you could say that for the majority of matches that we see in professional wrestling, that I really wish it wasn't that much of a status quo. But not going to shit on it too much. They did the deed. They got the job done, and they got in front of a large audience. So kudos to those guys, and solid match. Good shit. But coming up next, folks, it's time. It's time. It's John Cena's final match. All this stuff was the precursor to get to what this show was built around. 25 years of a career, 23 years on the main roster. One last time, man. Yeah, it's going to be emotional. It's going to be one of those things where, if for nothing else, what we're witnessing right now is wrestling history. And I'm proud to be a part of wrestling history, as a fan, of course. And I'm proud to have this on my channel. So, without further ado, let's get to it. John Cena's final match. Damn. Well, folks, that's it. That's it, man. Damn. But what a way to go out, man. What a way to go out. What a fantastic finish that was. You know, I don't know if some of you guys are fans from the old channel. Like, I know I got a lot of new people who are on this channel, but I used to have an old Millennial Smart channel about 2 years ago that I had running from like 2019 up until 2023. And one of my videos I put out, I think I was referencing something about the death of finishers, if I'm not mistaken. I made this video back in, I want to say 2021. And one of the examples, I still remember this to this very day, it's been almost 5 years and I still remember this point that I made. I said, it'd be really cool if wrestlers, if workers were good enough where they can work a sleeper hold and get people invested into that. I even brought up spots back in the 1970s where they used to do that kind of thing, right? Because it's not about the move, it's about how you initiate the move. It's about who you are as a wrestler. And if you're a good enough wrestler, if you're a good enough worker, it doesn't matter what you do, because people just want to see you win, or people just want to see you lose. That's it. That's it. That's the whole point of professional wrestling. People want to see you win, or people want to see you lose. That headlock that Gunther worked on John Cena for like, I want to say probably 5 minutes. That headlock got over more than every Canadian Destroyer, every 450, every Spaceman plancha dive, every thumbtack spot, every spot that you could think of this year. That sleeper hold got over more than any of those moves combined this entire year. Arguably, this entire decade so far. And it meant more because John Cena, the guy who never gives up, gave up. All the stuff they did throughout this match, and mind you, this was a solid match. This was a solid match. From the announcement table spot with the AA, from the references from Michael Cole. It's not even like, I think I maybe heard Michael Cole call the AA one time throughout the match. You guys caught on to that? Michael Cole was calling it the FU throughout this entire match. The audience participation, they fucking hated Gunther, and at the same time, they fucking loved John Cena. The amount of AAs done off the turnbuckles, done in the middle of the ring, the power bombs, all that stuff, it paled in comparison to those last 5 minutes. They worked that sleeper hold to perfection. The crowd going, don't give up, don't give up, don't give up. Cena, who has never tapped out ever in his whole entire main event run. 20 years since the last time he tapped out, and I guarantee you the last time he tapped out most likely was to Kurt Angle I promise you, I'm almost certain the last time he tapped out was to Kurt Angle, which would have been around 2004. I promise you that was the last time he tapped out, most likely. John Cena fought it as much as he could. Even hit a AA out of it for Gunther to kick out and then immediately lock it back in. And Cena fought it for as much as he can. I can almost picture, I know for a fact, some of you guys, even if you know wrestling is fake, even if you're the most cynical wrestling fan in the world, I promise you, there are a bunch of kids who grew up on John Cena. Kids who are now in their early to mid 20s. Kids who jump online and they talk about 5-star matches. Everybody wants to be a Dave Meltzer nowadays. But for that moment, I promise you, there was a 22-year-old, there was a 23-year-old, there was a 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29-year-old, 30-year-old, 33-year-old, who forgot all about that, and they just wanted Cena to not give up. And Cena tapped out. And it's the way he tapped out. He fought it as hard as he could until he knew he was fucked. He knew he couldn't get out of it. And he stared right into that camera. Nowhere to go. Gunther's body's wrapped around him. He smiled. He said, I'm caught. I'm caught. And he tapped out. He smiled and he tapped his arm. And John Cena lost the match. Could you ask for a better finish? Could you ask for better crowd participation? That right there, what you just watched, ladies and gentlemen, is the essence of professional wrestling. Now, I'm not a fool. I'm not ignorant. Not every match can be like that. Not every match can work a sleeper hold and get people emotionally invested as much as they did in this match. Nor should that be the case. It worked here. But I've been saying for years now, get people over. Get people over where you can do simple things like that and get the most out of it. Nobody gets injured. Nobody gets hurt. The only thing that's injured and the only thing that's hurt is the emotions of the fan. And isn't that what professional wrestling is all about, right? Professional wrestling is about following the story. You're driving down the scenic route and you're just taking it all in. And eventually you're going to have to get to that climax. And that climax, that was the trip. Now it's to get to the conclusion so we can close the book. That's what professional wrestling is all about. That's what my channel is about. This match is a perfect example of what I try my very best. And I might not be the best at conveying that message. I may fumble on some words. I may take the piss out of something because I'm joking around. But when I tell you the number one priority as to what I try to get across, it's that. It's that. What everybody was feeling at that moment watching John Cena locked in that headlock is that emotional investment that's lacking in professional wrestling. That I want everyone to experience every week. The journey to get to the point where you can look at something like that and get as emotional as you were getting at that point in time. That's what I'm trying to do. After the match, when John Cena tapped out, obviously all the wrestlers started to pile up. I expected that to be the case. All of them. Now I will say, man, they do not like Triple H very much. They do not. They were booing the hell out of Triple H. Even saying you fucked up. They did not like Triple H at all. Even got to a point where Triple H, because this was after, Cody and Punk, they gave John Cena their titles. symbolic gesture, obviously, because, you know, he's presented as the GOAT. John Cena held up the championship belts, got a pop from each side of the audience. He eventually gave the belts back to Cody and Punk, and Triple H took him to the opposite side of the ring, and they're still booing the hell out of Triple H. They do not like Triple H. And Triple H pointed to a video up on the big screen, right? Or I guess towards the rafters. And he played a tribute video for John Cena, and everybody embraced it, as you expect it to be. And John Cena took off his shoes in the symbolic gesture to make it known that he is retiring, and he left the ring, and that was that. John Cena's career is officially over. And for people who are saying, and I've seen the comments, my own comment sections, I've seen people talk about it on social media, saying that they don't believe John Cena's really retired. Folks, I'm here to let you know, once you take off your wrestling boots, that's it. That's it. People say that it's not the right call right now. He should retire at WrestleMania. I'm not saying that you're wrong. But can you think of a better fitting end to cap off a career, even if it's not at your specific location? Can you think of a better way to cap off a career as to how John Cena just did it right now? Traditionally, everything went exactly as to how it would go in any other scenario. He put over the new guy, or at least newer than him. He went out on his back. He tapped out, so he did it in the most decisive way possible. He took off his boots. He got the symbolic send-off. You can't get any better than that. As I said earlier on in the intro, when it comes to John Cena, I never knew he was going to be this guy. I thought when I seen John Cena, he was just another wrestler. A guy who comes and a guy who goes. He came in with generic tights, generic boots, generic knee pads, and he just looked like every other person who's trying to make it into professional wrestling. Then he found his character. He found his niche, and he found his groove. And for over 23 years, he entertained everybody. There have been highs, there have been lows, but he entertained everybody. I don't know if I'm going to miss Cena to the extent as to how everybody else is going to miss Cena, but he is the last of a dying breed. He is one of the final ones who actually got professional wrestling. He is one of the final ones who can get you to love him extremely well, or he can get you to have vitriolic hatred towards him. Go back to ECW One Night Stand. Go back to Chicago and Money in the Bank in 2011. Plenty of examples. That right there is the transition into what professional wrestling is right now, which unfortunately I don't feel has met that standard that John Cena typically laid in as far as the foundation. I'm not saying there will never be another John Cena. I hope there is. But for the time being, there will never be another reaction as to what you've seen right there. Not to that degree, not to that extent. Not to what they had to do in order to get that crowd invested and what little they done to get that crowd invested. That right there, I think that right there is the thing that people need to focus on, along with John Cena being retired. It's the art of professional wrestling never reaching its fullest extent ever again. But for one night, we got it. And for one night, every wrestling fan looking at what they seen tonight together understood what professional wrestling is all about. And honestly, I can't think of a better way to end it with that. I'm not gonna be all cliche and emotional and say thank you, John Cena. I said thank you with the amount of money that I bought and plunked into, you know, John Cena's media, right? Whether it's his merchandise or whether it was buying the pay-per-views, any of that stuff. I've done my thank you John Cena's for over 25 years. Thank you, pro wrestling. Because without pro wrestling, there would be no John Cena. And I think I'm going to end it on that. So let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below as to how you felt about the show. You got some favorite moments from John Cena, go ahead and jot it down in the comment section. As always, my name is Devontae, and I'll be catching you guys later. You can't see me. Deuces, P, Ice.